Okay, well, welcome to your recovery. Our focus today is going to be mostly on shoulders, chest, and upper back. If you're doing this recovery program as part of the Pure Strength program, it's going to feel so good because on week 2, we've been doing a lot of shoulder pushing exercises. So, all you're going to need for this gentle practice is a set of yoga blocks. And when you're ready, come to meet me on your back. So, we're going to find a lot of release here throughout the shoulder, specifically the anterior or the front shoulder. So we're going to begin with the knees bent and the feet flat on the floor. Now, before you do anything, I just want to let you know where we're going to take it. We're going to press through the feet to lift the hips just enough that you can physically slide your right hand palm facing the floor underneath your waist. We're going to slightly rotate the fingertips up towards the left shoulder blade. So underneath the body, the arm is going to kind of be at an angle, and we're going to really find a nice release for the front of this right shoulder. So go ahead and lift your hips just enough to bend at the elbow and slide the right hand under the waist. Find that slight rotation upwards of the fingers towards the left shoulder. And then when you're ready, lower your hips back down so your body weight is kind of pinning the arm underneath of you. Now, hopefully we're feeling this in the front of the right shoulder. If it's really intense, bring your hand down the body a little bit closer towards your hips, and hopefully that will make it a little bit more accessible. Take a moment here just to tap into how that feels before we add in anything extra. Now, if all of that feels really good, I'm going to invite you to bring your left ear to your left shoulder. So we're moving the head away from the right. And notice how that might change the sensation, now stretching through the anterior right shoulder as well as through the SCM and up the sides of the neck. Now, if you still want a little bit more, let's take this left arm, which is free. You're going to set the fingertips across your right temple and then just not really pulling or yanking on the neck, but just giving it a little bit of upward tug of resistance, just to kind of amplify that stretch a little bit more. And then soften into it when you can. And right now, all I want you focusing on, if you can, is just deepening and relaxing through the breath. When you're ready, slowly release your left arm back down towards the floor. Bring your head back in alignment with the rest of your spine. Press through the heels, lift your hips enough that you can just gently release that right arm. Now, just to restore a little bit of movement, just kind of create like little snow angels with that right arm as you just gently sweep it up and down, just inviting in some movement back into the arm and the shoulder. Now, before we do the other side, we're going to stay on the right shoulder. So I'm actually going to invite you to roll onto your left side body, and you're going to stack your knees, your hips, and your arms out in front of you. So what I'd like you to focus on here is really keeping the knees stacked. So a lot of times when we open up into a twist, the right knee glides back. See if you can keep that right knee on top. So the right arm might not come anywhere close to the floor. It might just be hanging in space, and that's okay. Let your head relax onto the floor. Keep pushing that right knee forward. We're slowly going to reach the right arm up towards the sky and then back behind us. And again, my arm is like nowhere near the floor. It's just hanging out in space, floating. But I'm keeping that right knee pushing forward and my right hip stacked on top of my left. And then just as much as I can, softening into the sensation of opening up into this twist. And let's stay here for 3 deep breaths. 2 more breaths. Last one here. And let's bring the arm back the exact same way we got it there. So it's like you're closing a book. Now we're going to take this right arm and we're going to arch it overhead. So go ahead and turn so the palm is up on the right side. And then you're just going to start to draw the hands or drag the hands across the floor overhead. Now, there'll be a moment where when we open up without bringing the right knee back, the hand has to leave the floor. So be okay with that. Keep reaching it up and back. Keep the right knee forward. So we're not opening the hips or the knees. So again, that right arm might not be anywhere close to the floor. Might be like feeling like it's more up towards the ceiling even. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then we're going to bring it back the same way. So that moment where the hand can come back to the floor, let's bring it back down and then stack the arms. We're going to unravel, so you're coming to lay back onto your back with your knees bent, your feet onto the floor, and release. Before we do anything, take a moment and notice how your right shoulder and arm might feel different than the left. And if you notice a difference, take a moment to appreciate how quickly the body adapts and changes. We've only been together a few minutes, and hopefully the right shoulder feels more mobile, more engaged, more alive. All right, let's take this into the left side. So when you're ready, again, the palm will be facing down. We'll have the fingertips kind of rotating up towards the right shoulder this time. Press through the feet to lift the hips, and then lower yourself back down so you're just pinning the arm underneath of you. Take a moment to check in, see if all of this feels okay on the front of your left shoulder. And if it doesn't, bring the arm down a little bit closer towards the hips, and that might help make some nice adjustments for the body. If everything feels okay, let's take the right ear to the right shoulder. So you have that gentle sensation throughout the left side of the neck. And then if you'd like, we can take that right hand, fingertips to the left temple, and just have kind of that upward drag of the fascial layer there on the left side of the neck. So make sure you're not pulling or tugging on the head, but just kind of a gentle upward drag sensation. When you're ready, gently release the right arm if you added it. Bring your head back towards center. Lift your hips just enough to slide this left arm out. Lowering the hips back down. And again, just take this kind of like half of a snow angel sweep of the left arm to invite movement back into the shoulder. And then when you're ready, let's roll onto our right side. So let the head cascade down. Again, stack the knees, the hips. We're going to try to keep all of that together as you open your left arm like a book and let it fall behind you without bringing that left knee back. So be okay with the left arm not being anywhere near the floor. And let's take 3 deep breaths here together. One more deep breath here. And then let's close the book. And now we'll take it into that sunrise arm setup. So flipping the palm and then dragging the fingertips overhead until you get to that point where you have to open the knees or the hips, and then lift the arm so we're not actually moving the knees or the hips, and sweep the arm back behind you. Keeping this left knee pushing forward and hips nice and square to the long edge of your mat. And take a couple of breaths here. And then let's retrace our steps. So bring it overhead until you find that point where you can place the fingertips back onto the floor, and then bring the arms back together. From here, we're going to push ourselves up into a child's pose. Go ahead and grab your yoga blocks, place them at the top of your mat. We'll need them in just a moment. And coming into tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's just take a basic cat-cow here. So if that's new to you, you just let the belly drop, let the chin and tailbone pull away from each other. And then rounding the spine, let the tailbone and chin kind of round together like you're trying to bring them closer towards the belly button. Let's flow that a couple more times. Extend through the spine, let the belly drop. Flex through the spine, round. One more time. Then allow yourself to settle into neutral. You're going to set the blocks to the top of your mat on their lowest setting side by side. So it's kind of like you're just creating one long rectangular block. Go ahead and bring your hands onto the blocks. Walk your knees back just a couple of inches and start to sit the hips back, leaving the arms really long here. So because we're focusing on shoulders, we want to find that nice long extension through the upper body. So let the hips drive back, let the arms reach forward. So you feel this nice long line from tail to fingertips. Hopefully also with this extended reach, feeling the lats, which are all around underneath the armpit and in that upper back area, connecting the arms and the side body, just feeling that gentle release. Now from here, bring your right hand to the left corner of your block. So we're creating a little bit of a side body. Now if it feels uncomfortable on the knees, you might walk them in a couple inches so you can just relax through the lower body. Once your right hand is reaching to the left corner block, bring your left hand right next to your left knee. We're going to push into that left hand and start to open our chest to the long edge of our mat on the left side. So you feel that through that whole right side body. Take a couple of breaths here. Slowly press to the left hand, bring your right hand back to the right block, and we're just going to thread the left arm underneath the space we're creating on the right. So because the right arm is lifted, your left shoulder and your left side of your face might not touch the floor, but that's okay. What I want you to focus on here is reaching that left arm as far as you can so you feel your left shoulder blade pull away from your spine. So you've got a little bit of scapular protraction happening on the left side. Take a couple of deep breaths here. And then slowly unravel. Reach both arms long. We're going to bring the right hand next to the right knee. Take your left hand to the right corner block. So we're creating that on the other side. Reaching that left hand at the diagonal, right hand right next to the right knee. Push the right hand to start to twist your chest towards the right long edge of your mat. Take a couple of deep breaths here. All right, push to that right hand. Bring your left hand back to the left block and thread the right arm underneath the left, really reaching the fingertips. So you feel that right shoulder blade pulling away from the spine. Take a couple of deep breaths here. And then slowly release. Bring the hands under the shoulders. Bring yourself up. Go ahead and take your blocks on their highest setting and let them be about shoulder distance apart. We're going to place the elbow points right on the blocks. Now, if you're using cork or wood, you might want to place a blanket across them just to give you a little extra padding. Bring your fingertips together like prayer hands. Start to send the hips back, letting your head and chest kind of cascade down towards the floor. Bring your fingertips to point up towards the sky, and then slowly start to turn so the fingertips are pointing towards your spine. Maybe the thumbs rest at the nape of your neck. And take a couple of breaths here, just finding extension and opening through the front upper body. And another deep breath here. And then release the arms long. Let them kind of just dangle and hang out here for 2 more breaths. And then slowly press to the elbows, round your spine to come forward. You might want to walk your knees in or press to the hands to release. Let your hands come into your lap. Take a couple of shoulder circles to release the body. And let all of that go. Thank you so much for joining me for this upper body recovery. And until next time, be well.